Oh, boo-hoo, Hillary Clinton seems to say she's not running in 2020, but she is running with the race card.
I was the first person who ran for president without the protection of the Voting Rights Act, and I will tell you it makes a really big difference. It made a difference in Wisconsin, where the best studies that have been done said somewhere between 40 and 80,000 people were turned away from the polls because of the color of their skin.
Well, guess what? The Washington Post gave her 4 Pinocchios for that blatant lie. 80,000 people turned away from polls? Joining me now on this and so much more, renowned economist, old friend, Tom Sowell, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, author of the phenomenal book, Discrimination and Disparities, which is now out in a revised, enlarged edition. Tom, thanks for being here. Why is Hillary saying that? I think she knows it's not true, so why?
Because she thinks it'll get her some votes. I mean, that's the reason politicians say a lot of things that aren't true.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton, so many others are now talking about reparations. Trump's a racist. It's race. Immigration policy's racist. The race word is the constant. It's like abortion and race in today's Democrat Party.
It is, and I have the feeling that many Americans would just as soon not hear any more about race. But there are people for whom this is their ticket to whatever racket they're running, including the political racket. And it's tragic. What's tragic is that there are so many people out there who simply respond to words rather than ask themselves, is what this person says true? How could I check it? And so on.
Do you think that with that, Justice Smollett case in Chicago, and now we have this R. Kelly guy who's accused of, R. Kelly's not focusing on race, but the Smollett case became one about race. And it was almost like there were certain people out there who were disappointed when it seemed like this thing was a big hoax. They wanted this to be a racial incident, a racial hate crime, reinforcing the stereotypes that this is what's wrong with society today. The overriding problem in society today is one of race, Tom.
Well, it's like in football. They're going to run that play until someone finds a way to stop it. And as long as it pays off, they're going to keep doing it. What's painful to me is how few people there are today who bother to check out the facts. In many cases, just the smallest effort at checking out the facts would cause so many of these things to fall apart. And we have a whole history of this going back to the Toronto Brawley woman back in the 19-somethings, and then the Duke lacrosse case. So there have been any number of these things. But as long as they keep succeeding politically, they'll continue to run that play.
Do you think President Trump would do well to make like monthly trips to underserved, more underprivileged areas, or to traditionally black colleges, communities of color, where he can just talk about why his policies are working and why the economy is growing opportunities, jobs, greater employment, et cetera? Would you recommend that he do that?
I don't think that the venue matters that much, but there has to be some thoughtful notions about how free markets and other kinds of activities that are different from what are normally heard, how those things impact. And I don't see any sign of that of any significance, unfortunately, from the Republicans. I never cease to be amazed at how many opportunities they've let go by. Right now, for example, Democrats around the country are lining up to stop charter schools from expanding, try to cut back on them. And many of them are the very schools that are most successful are the ones they're zeroing in. Places like Success Academy or KIPP schools and so forth. And the Democrats, I understand they have to do that because they're beholden to the teachers' unions. But why the Republicans don't say anything about it, that is what baffles me.
Yeah, truly pro-choice initiatives that actually help individuals instead of just focusing on blocks of individuals. Dr. Sowell, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has spoken a lot about socialism and being a Democrat socialist. Now, she's a young person, 28 years old, but she is representing a decent chunk of the Democrat Party today. I want to play something for you and have you react. Let's watch.
When millennials talk about concepts like democratic socialism, we're not talking about these kind of Red Scare boogeymen. We're talking about single-payer health care. We're talking about tuition-free public colleges and universities. We're talking about a living wage. We're talking about guaranteed basic levels of dignity.
This sounds good to a lot of young people. And this focus group from CNN we just alluded to, and they seem very excited about these concepts. What are Republicans not doing?
The Republicans are not saying anything that I've heard. Of course, all these things sound wonderful. It's just that we now have more than half a century of knowledge, of a track record of these kinds of ideas being put into practice in countries around the world and failing time and time again. Not merely failing, but making things worse than they were before. Venezuela is the classic case. And yet, during the whole period when people are starving in Venezuela under socialism, the young people right out of our colleges are flocking to Bernie Sanders because they're judging by his words and how wonderful it sounds, and not by what happens when you try to put those notions into practice, as has been tried again in countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, South America.
Failed everywhere. This is like
yes,
the worst
and
repeat failed experiment we've ever seen. Dr. Tom Sowell, it is so great to see you tonight. Come back soon. Love your books. So many of my friends are texting me saying, tell them we're such huge fans.